In a small riverside village surrounded by lush green fields and tall coconut trees, there lived a young boy named Rafi. Rafi's father was the best fisherman in the village, known for catching the biggest fish and bringing home food for everyone during hard times. Rafi admired his father and dreamed of becoming just like him. But Rafi was still too small to handle the heavy fishing nets or row the big boats, and the villagers often laughed at his ambition. "You're just a little boy, Rafi," they would say. "You'll have to wait many years to be a great fisherman." But Rafi didn't give up. He practiced every day, learning how to tie fishing knots and steer a small boat his father had given him. His constant companion was his pet duck, Chiku, who loved swimming beside the boat and quacking loudly as if giving Rafi advice. One evening, the sky turned dark, and the wind began to howl. The villagers quickly pulled their boats ashore and secured their fishing nets, but the storm arrived faster than expected. Heavy rain poured down, and the river swelled, breaking its banks. In the chaos, the village's most important fishing nets large enough to catch fish for the entire community, were swept away by the rushing water. The next morning, the storm had passed, but the damage was done. Without the nets, the villagers couldn't fish and many families worried about how they would eat. "We'll starve if we don't get those nets back," an old fisherman said, shaking his head. "I'll find the nets," Rafi announced boldly. The villagers chuckled. "It's too dangerous, Rafi. The river is still high and you're just a boy," one man said, but Rafi's father placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Be brave, my son, but also be wise. If you truly want to help, listen to the river and trust your heart." Determined to prove himself, Rafi set off in his little boat with Chiku by his side. The river was still murky and fast-moving, but Rafi rowed steadily, keeping his father's words in mind. As they drifted downstream, Chiku began quacking loudly and flapping his wings. "What is it, Chiku?" Rafi asked. The duck pointed its beak toward a fallen tree blocking part of the river. Tangled in the branches was a torn piece of one of the fishing nets. Excited, Rafi steered his boat closer, but as he reached for the net, he heard a voice. "Who dares to touch my tree?" Rafi looked around in surprise. Sitting on the branch was a talking otter with shiny fur and curious eyes. "I'm sorry," Rafi said politely. "I need this net to help my village." The otter studied him for a moment and then said, "I'll let you take the net if you answer my riddle. What has no beginning, no end, but is full of water?" Rafi thought hard. He looked at the swirling river and smiled. "A circle. Like a drop of water or the river itself." The otter clapped its paws. "Correct. You may take the net, brave boy." Rafi thanked the otter, untangled the net, and continued his journey. As Rafi and Chiku floated farther downstream, they entered a dark forest where the river narrowed. The trees leaned over the water, their branches almost touching the surface. Suddenly, Rafi heard whispers all around him. "Turn back, little boy. The river is dangerous," the voices said. "Who's there?" Rafi asked, gripping his oar tightly. Out of the shadows stepped a family of talking turtles, their shells glowing faintly. "We guard this part of the river," said the largest turtle. "The currents ahead are strong, and a dangerous whirlpool awaits. But if you are brave enough, we will guide you." "I must go on," Rafi said. "The village needs these nets, and I can't turn back now." The turtles nodded. "Follow our shells. We'll show you the safe path." With Chiku perched on the edge of the boat, quacking encouragement, Rafi followed the glowing turtles. They led him through the twisting currents, safely past the whirlpool, until the river opened up again. At last, Rafi spotted the rest of the missing nets caught on some rocks near a wide bend in the river. But as he approached, the water around the rocks began to churn. A huge river serpent rose from the depths, its scales shimmering in the sunlight. "Who dares disturb my resting place?" the serpent hissed. "I am Rafi," he said, his voice steady despite his fear. "I need these nets to save my village." The serpent's golden eyes narrowed. "Many have come to take from my river without giving back." As Rafi rode back to the village, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The villagers gathered at the riverbank, cheering as they saw him return with the nets. "You did it, Rafi," his father said, lifting him onto his shoulders. Rafi told them about the otter, the turtles, and the serpent, and how he promised to protect the river. The villagers agreed to work together to keep the river clean and treat it with respect. "Why should I let you?" Rafi thought for a moment and said, "If you help me, I promise to protect the river. I'll tell my village to keep it clean and never take more than we need. We will honor the river, just as my father taught me." The serpent studied him, then slowly sank back into the water. "You are wise beyond your years, little fisherman. Take the nets, and remember your promise." With the serpent's help, Rafi retrieved the nets and tied them securely to his boat. As Rafi rode back to the village, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The villagers gathered at the riverbank, cheering as they saw him return with the nets. "You did it, Rafi," his father said, lifting him onto his shoulders. Rafi told them about the otter, the turtles, and the serpent, and how he promised to protect the river. The villagers agreed to work together to keep the river clean and treat it with respect. He was known as the brave little fisher boy, and the villagers never doubted his courage or wisdom again. Moral of the story teaches children the importance of bravery, kindness, and respecting nature. It shows that even the smallest person can make a big difference when they follow their heart and care for the world around them.